Hello and thank you for visiting StrobesMore.com. My name is Lewis and I'm going to make you a quick, sort of quick, troubleshooting video for your strobe systems. Any strobe system you have. Before I start, I want to mention one thing. We do not want you bench testing anything. Install it per your instructions. Follow the instructions line by line to the letter, and 99.9% of the time you will not have an issue. Always have mistakes here and there, but usually you'll catch them, or you can go back and catch them. Bench testing is the #1 way things come back here damaged, warranties get void, so on and so forth. So without beating a dead horse, install it properly. You shouldn't have any problems. When you're installing your strobe kit for the new installs, make sure your connections are all in the right order. Red #1, black #2, white #3. Okay, put them in that order in your sockets. Make sure they're connected good. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Your #1 friend when you're making these connections, dielectric grease. Take the dielectric grease. We sell it cheaper than most auto parts store. Fill in the female side, completely fill it in. When you push your connection together, it'll ooze out the back of the cables. Don't use shrink wrap. Don't use silicone. Don't wrap them in black tape. Once the moisture gets in there, corrosion builds up, you have issues. With the dielectric grease, you have an issue, you need to clean one out, pull it apart, you can spray it with contact cleaner, you can get a little brush in there. Once you silicone it or heat shrink it or tape on it, you're just creating a mess for yourself. So put that on, make sure your bulb behind your headlight or tail lights works wonders, saves you 99.9% of the headaches you're going to have. Also, down at the strobe pack itself, make sure your connections again are all in the right order. This particular pack is our Pro Series. It allows you to run 6 strobes. I have 1, 2 plugged in outlets 1 and 2, 3 and 4 plugged in outlets 3 and 4. I'm not using 5 and 6. You need to run your main power to your battery. You need to have a 10 or 15 amp inline fuse. You need to have your ground run to your battery or preferably your chassis. Don't share grounds. Make sure you create your own ground. Don't jump onto your ground for your stereo or your dash lights, so on and so forth. This particular here I've set up kit I've set up to already short out. So I'm going to go ahead and flip my switch on and I have nothing. So I installed my kit. I've had it in my car for a year, whatever. I go out and it's not working. Very simple way to troubleshoot this. So I'm going to shut my switch off. I'm just going to disconnect the ground for purposes here. I am going to unplug my strobes. I'm going to unplug all of my strobes. I'm going to make sure everything's plugged in nice and tight. I use these little small pliers whenever I'm working with strobe packs to pull them out so I get a good bite. I don't pull on the wires themselves. Now I'm going to plug in my #1 strobe and I'm going to turn my switch on. #1 works. I'm going to shut my switch off. I'm going to unplug my plug. I'm going to use my pliers. I'm going to plug in #2 into the #1 outlet. I always use the #1 outlet. Turn my switch on. #2 works fine. Unplug that one. I'm going to go to #3. Turn my switch on. #3 works fine. Unplug. I'm going to plug in #4. Turn my switch on. I have nothing, and in this case here, if you can see it, the little red light comes on the strobe power supply. Again, I'm going to shut my switch off. I'm going to unplug that plug, and I'm going to plug all my other strobes back in now. So whether you have 4 or 6, you plug everything else back in. So we know, or we think that there's an issue with that one. I'm going to flip my switch. So all my strobes are working. Now I'm going to troubleshoot this strobe. I'm going to check my connections at the strobe in. They look good. Everything's pushed in nice and solid. No issues. I'm going to go down and take my headlight, tail light off. I'm going to look behind that. In this case here, I shorted this one out myself, so I'm going to remove the short that I caused. Okay, I'm going to check my bulb. I'm going to pull it apart. I'm going to look for any green corrosion on there. Road salt turns it green always. Check my dielectric grease. I'm going to clean my connection real good. I'm going to put it all back together. Okay. I'm going to plug it back into the strobe power supply. And I'm going to flip my switch. And voila, that strobe is now working. Now, you could have a bad strobe that's creating the short. So you could do all that, you could clean the connection, and you could still have an issue with that bulb. And in that case, chances are it might be your bulb itself, and you need to replace the bulb. If the bulb's within a year, the glass isn't broken, you haven't modified the bulb, cut the connector off, send it back to us. Or if it's Whelen, send it back to Whelen, Nova, send it back to Nova, so on. And we'll, you know, they'll warranty it. If you've cut up the plastic, cut the wires, you're out of luck, unfortunately. So that's the simplest way. You want to narrow it down and look at one at a time. If you have any other questions, give us a call here at strobesandmore.com. One other thing I will mention, this one has trip wires. So you have a wire that does 1 and 2 and a wire that does 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you get nothing out of one, check to make sure you got good power going to your power supply. And when you activate your switches, you're getting 12 volts at the power supply. Meter it here, not back at your switch in the cab or under your hood. Meter it here. Check your ground. Make sure your ground didn't loosen up. Any other questions or tech help, we'll be glad to give you a call. 99% of these things are troubleshot by just starting it with your install guide, going through it again, and you'll find your issue. Thank you for watching and have a great day.